Hello, and welcome to Off the Shelf. This is a series where I take a look at one of the board games in my collection and give my thoughts about it. I'll talk about my likes and dislikes, as well as if I think the game is going to stay in my collection. Today, we're taking a look at Apples to Apples. Wait, Apples to Apples? What is this doing here? Well, if you haven't heard of Apples to Apples, then you may have been living under a rock, because this game essentially took the world by storm when it came out. So, what are my thoughts now? Well, for starters, what do I like about it? One thing that I like is that it's easy to play and approachable. And no doubt that's one of the things that made it so successful when it came out. There's very few rules, and it's easy for all ages and anyone who doesn't know board games to play. And it also can handle a large number of players. I have the to-go box here, but I have the big box around here somewhere. And so it can handle a large number of players in a family or a party environment, and that's a good thing. And the other thing that I like about it is that it's not Cards Against Humanity. Cards Against Humanity is a game that kind of capitalized on the success of this, but for a more immature audience. In that game, you're essentially just matching jokes to punchlines, and it gets old and stale very quickly. But in this game, if you make a clever connection, it just feels more rewarding because you do have to make that stretch, and it can be harder to make, but when you do kind of make that fun and witty remark, it does feel a lot more rewarding because you feel like you had to work for it. So I do like that. And that's kind of the end of what I really like about the game. On to the dislikes. Really, the only dislike I have about the game is the amount of pop culture that's included. Now, this does vary depending on which set you get, but that kind of makes it less approachable. So even though I do still think the game is fairly broad and it can appeal to all ages, some of the pop culture included in the game does make it a little bit harder because there are a lot of things that younger people will not know, and there are a lot of things that older people will not know, and vice versa. So I do wish it had more just general knowledge topics and less pop culture. But really that's it as far as pros and cons. So the verdict on this one is that it's leaving. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure why I still have it. Because for me, there are a lot of games that have taken its place and kind of taken what made Apples to Apples so successful in the first place and evolved that formula. One of those such games would be Dixit, which I really enjoy. Dixit is a much prettier, much more modern and elegant game than Apples to Apples, but it's still as approachable. And so Apples to Apples has kind of just lost its flair, and it's kind of run its course for me. So it's definitely leaving the collection. And so those are my thoughts on Apples to Apples. If you are interested in the game that was featured on this episode of Off the Shelf, be sure to check out the links in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Hi, it's Aaron. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any thoughts or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I do read all of them. And if you'd like to see more content like this, well, you already know how YouTube works, so I don't need to tell you what to do.